the cool part is when you can notice and you stop and you analyze the points of failure before it's the wheels coming off. When you can be like, what is that noise? What is happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Where's the stress levels coming up? Those are those little points of failure that if you listen and you pay attention, you can learn. And you can say, okay, this is happening because I'm not following my calendar, because I'm not making my phone calls, because...
Welcome back to 10 Tenths, where we coach real estate agents out of burnout and into high-performing businesses that fuel their lives. Welcome, everyone. As always, Garrett Fry is here with me, Matt Benelli, and we have a great episode today. It's going to be a lot of fun. And before we get into that, I just want to remind you that we have our free webinar coming up where we are going to teach our engagement engine. It is our framework on how to build a communication plan that allows you to execute consistently so that you can experience that high-performing business that we're talking about without the burnout. So just go to our site, 10tenths.co, and you'll find the sign-up form. It takes place on Friday, April 17th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Garrett, good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning. Super excited to get a chance to go through that framework with everybody. I think it'll provide a ton of clarity over how you're approaching your database, how you're approaching your systems, how you're approaching consistency. So we'll have a lot of fun doing that. Matt, today we got a great topic here, and we're going to talk about failure. About failure in your business and in your and how it's a gift. It's a gift. Failure is a gift, and we need to dive into this because we so easily kick ourselves and we beat ourselves up when something doesn't work. I tried it and it didn't work, and I want to just really have you all walk away from this episode with understanding every point of failure is a gift that is given you to learn and to grow at a rapid rate. We in, man? We ready to go?
Absolutely. Let's dive in. I think this is a fun topic for many reasons. One, because I think there's a lot of negative energy around the word failure, right? And it comes down to kind of our own personal opinion on failure and what we're talking about in terms of failure. I mean, sometimes failure can be very bad. Sometimes it can be actually good because we are able to learn and grow. And if we never had that misstep or thing that didn't work out, we would have never have seen the next opportunity that was there all along, but we just couldn't see it because this thing was working and in a certain capacity, but not as well as this thing over here could. So I'm excited to dig in, man.
Well, I think we're in an industry that we're always one step away from comparing ourselves to the person next door. We're one step away from comparing to the person that they take in the front of the sales meeting and put up and say, you should all be like Matt Benelli. We're one step away. I know. We're one step away from this constant, affirming place that we're in that's kind of going like, hey, this is how you should do it. And when we try sometimes to put our effort out, to grow something, to try something we haven't done before, and it doesn't work, we very quickly go to a place sometimes of like, well, that's not for me. I tried that and it didn't work. And the best thing you can do is sit back and say, but why? Why didn't it work? What could I have done differently? I have a group of agents right now that I'm working with that are thinking about hiring assistants, and they've had some bad experiences in the past. So like, I think I'm going to jump back into this again. I need the help in my business. And I have told them, like, go talk to other agents in your office. You have failed at this once. We got that. And I don't usually say it that way, but it hasn't worked out in the past where you brought somebody in and it didn't quite come to be the way you thought. Instead of going, I don't want to have that happen again, I'm worried about that happening, go talk to people that are having success with their assistants. Go sit down with them. How are you using them? What are the systems they're helping you with? How are they showing up in your business? Do you have them talk to your clients? Do you not have them talk to your clients? How about with the deals? How much are they actually getting involved with that? Learn and gather and learn. And I guarantee you'll walk away from that moment going, oh my gosh, I never thought I could even do that. I didn't know it. But sometimes we had that failure point up front and we never come back to it. We never learn from it. And I think it's an incredible opportunity to sit back and say, okay, I know a way it doesn't work. And It's like Thomas Edison with the light bulb. I know, and I'm going to mess this up, but I know 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Right.
Like, what do you know? Well, you learned a way that it doesn't work. Now let's grow.
Yeah. The other thing I see a lot of people do too, Garrett, is they essentially throw the baby out with the bathwater by they'll be doing something, it will come to a failure point and they'll be like, oh, it's all ruined, right? It's like, well, hold on. We also need to acknowledge all of the great things that have happened along the way and make a decision on what do we want to do next. We'll use 75 hard as an example because we had a group of people who started that at the beginning of the year. And at this point, many have completed. Some people had to restart, myself included, right? I got to 50 something days and then was looking back after a few more days and was like, oh no, I forgot to take a photo. Right. And it's like, oh, I failed, right? I failed the program of like from the rules of the program. I failed, have to go back to day one. And some people would take that as like, oh, it's such a failure, so close to 75 days. And I'll be honest, like I didn't re-engage the program to go another 75 days. I have other programs and things that I'm going to engage in this year. And probably at the time of this podcast going out, have already done. And so it's just not fitting in my world. That said, I didn't look back and go, the last 60 days, 50 something days are a waste, right? No, there's a lot of lessons learned. Doing that program for that many days, even doing that program for a week or 2 weeks for anybody who's tried to do it, that is great. The lesson though, in the failure is, and I wrote a little post in our community about this, which guys, go download our app. It's awesome. We got so much cool stuff going on in there and you can experience stuff like this. I wrote a little post and I said to anybody who's failed this or whatever, and to anybody who is also going to complete this, it's not about whether you finish or not. It's what happens in the transformation, looking at the lessons in the journey and the failure of what do you do next? Because if you complete 75 hard, finish that 75 days, you wake up on day 76, now what? If you go back to who you were on day 0, did the program even really matter, right? If you don't learn from the assistant that you hired, but it didn't work out and you fired and you just go back to the way that you were before that, was that even worth the experience? Are you going to even make a difference with the next hire? If you fail in the middle, does that discount the journey that you took to get there? What do you do after that day? And I think that is one of the perspectives that we should apply to learning through failure and success, Garrett, which is how is this changing who I am, changing my business for how it operates so that it can be better or continue on that track of improvement tomorrow versus, oh, it didn't work. Try again.
This goes back to the analyzing what actually happened because like I watched you go through 75 hard. I know all the stuff going on in your life. When you started 75 hard, there was a lot of other things with, your family's health and things like that wasn't on the table yet. We didn't know. And we went through it, as we've talked about on the podcast, very much at the same time with family members that were having health issues. And I was watching you and I'm like, how is he doing it? How is he doing 2 workouts a day? How is he showing up in these ways? How is he getting this reading in? How is he, because I was talking to you at 10 o'clock at night and you were driving to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's amazing, I think, in your point of going, yeah, okay, I technically failed 75 hard. When you look back on it and say, okay, but what can I celebrate also about what I did through that time and how I was able to stay consistent? And then to go, where was the breakdown? Like what was that moment that all of a sudden I maybe failed this system and learn from it and grow from it? And I think that your ability, one, to be honest and real that I didn't take a picture, I think one says a lot to who your character is, because there's a lot of people out there that very easily would have been, nobody will ever know that I didn't take that photo, and I'll just continue on and
it's fine.
We'll celebrate and finish it, whatever. But you understood that it's also good for other people to see that it not always is about getting to the end. It's about the growth and the learning along the way. And Matt, this got me thinking a lot as we were getting ready for this episode about like how those moments of failure, like if we look at coaching, if we look at all the one-on-one coaching that we do, all the group coaching that we do, more often than not, we're coaching around points of failure. It's very hard to coach somebody that's like, everything's working, everything's running smooth, everything's just coasting along, we're doing great, I'm heading to my goals, I got all my stuff here. It's the moment when things don't work that we step back and then again, we correct, and it's usually where the biggest growth comes. It takes you to that next level because all of a sudden you've had to address something that wasn't working. It's not working perfectly now. We have to solve for it. And that's where this big growth comes up. And that's one of the reasons I'm loving the group coaching side of what we're doing, because we have this group that some of them go, everything's working perfect. And one person goes, mine's kind of failing around this. And another person goes, oh crap, I should probably strengthen that a little bit on my side too. And now we've got more people going like, I needed to hear that. Like I needed to see where that broke down for them so I can grow also. And it's been an eye-opening thing for me to see.
Yeah, it has been. Well, it shines a light on personal responsibility, right? Because even on the 75 hard things, like, sure, okay, great. I appreciate the integrity thing and like, hey, that's big of you. It's like, but the truth is, if I don't accept that myself, there's no learning, there's no growth. That's just then me getting to day 76 so I can eat ice cream again, right? And I think that's what happens in a group setting when people get to talk about these things, is it helps shine a light on like, oh, maybe I need to acknowledge that too. Because a lot of times too, we'll use an assistant as an example. Oh, the assistant didn't work out. She's just not of the standard. Great. Well, then you hired poorly, right? You have to take responsibility for that. You didn't interview, you didn't figure that out. Now, will certain thing, and is that true? Maybe, maybe not, right? But it does identify, oh, there's something that I can work on to improve this. Because if I'm looking for a desired result and I did not achieve it, I cannot put that on somebody else, even if it is a team or employees, or say, hey, here's a learning part. I was listening to a Gary Vee podcast. This was actually really cool. Really, really cool. So he was explaining a situation that occurred years ago with his branding company, his marketing company, Vayner Media. And they were working with a high profile client. I forget what the client, who the client was. Hopefully this still will make sense. Anyway, one of his employees who is in charge of the social media for that account, the Twitter account, had gone into a meeting and had a really bad meeting and had this experience or whatever, came out of this meeting and needed to vent. So went on Twitter, what she thought was her own account, and said, F this thing, right? But it was like, I think the company that they were working for was like M&M Mars or something like that, some big brand. So on their Twitter account goes this profanity against something, and it was bad, right? Obviously they deleted the post, but damage had been done. The head of that company called Gary Vee in for a meeting and everything, and he said, I want you to fire that person. And Gary Vee said, respectfully, you don't have that authority to make that decision. That is my job. Now, if you don't want to work with us because something like that happened, that's your call. But this is a learning experience that we're going to build from, and that person's not getting fired. Well, they continued to work with the brand and everything's worked out, but like, whoa, like he could have just been like, blame that person, fire them, get rid of them. But instead it was, how do we learn and grow from this epic failure that happened so that it doesn't happen again and we can actually improve from there? I mean, what an incredible example of taking on that responsibility, is like, I'm in charge of my people, right?
Yep.
That's my responsibility. Man, so good. And that's the mindset that we need to get in, I think, individually when we look at points of failure in our business and our personal lives, Garrett.
They're incredible opportunities to grow. And again, I think the way that he looked at it is like, this is something we need to go figure out inside, and which probably led to a whole lot of protocols of like, look, before you get that mad, like because it happens to all of us. I mean, Gary Vee, he can go pretty high, pretty fast. So you start looking at like, well, how can we control that energy inside of our world? And it's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to get mad, but like, how can we now establish a protocol in the future so that it doesn't spill over? And those are important things to have that a lot of times you don't even realize you need them until all of a sudden the situation like that happens. And then you're like, all right, things we need to fix, things we didn't even know about. And I look at like, so many people come to us and say things like, Matt, I want to hire an assistant. And what are all the right pieces I need to have for an assistant? What's going to make it a successful, relationship that we're going to have? And yeah, there's like, they can take care of all these things for them. Number one place I find, and this is your chance to learn right now from points of failure that I have watched. Number one point of failure for a great assistant is lack of communication with the actual person who has hired them. It is the biggest breakdown, and it typically happens once a working relationship is started, and then all of a sudden, everybody gets a little too comfortable. Hey, Matt, I don't need to meet with you every single week. I trust you. You got this. And then all of a sudden, a week or two goes by, and everything's feeling pretty good, and that agent, whoever did the hiring, is sitting back and going, this is awesome. Look at this. I got this assistant. They're being all on point, and they're going out here, and they're taking care of all this stuff. And then I get a chance as a coach to go talk to the assistant. I'm like, how are things going? And they're like, I'm not sure I'm doing the right stuff. I don't know if I'm providing the value that I'm kind of wondering if I'm even like really an asset to them as they thought I was going to be, because we're not even talking at all. And I think I maybe have made them mad. Like, oh my gosh. Like, here you got the agent on this side thinking that everything's running smooth. You got this person internally that's doing their job, but they're feeling like they're failing. It's like, guys, please come back and talk. Number one point where things break down, but those moments are where you get a chance to learn. This is the cool thing about like our group coaching program is that when you get to watch that happen in real time, now every single person around it gets to grow from a point of failure. You can't coach to all the times everything just works. You can't sit there and grow off every time everything just works. And that's why these moments are so powerful to go, okay, what could I have done differently? And this is with anything in life. Look at your parenting style and go, man, that blew up. I have learned so much in 21 years. I had my wonderful daughter, Jocelyn, on. We did the vision board whole exercise. It took me probably 18 years to learn that just listen. Just listen when she comes to you and wants to talk. Just sit on the phone with her while she's driving between point A to point B and she's just downloading all the things that are in her brain. Just listen to her on her walk from her apartment to her job as she feels safe being on the phone because there are homeless people or things happening in her area and she's a little nervous. Just stay there and listen. I learned that off some major points of failure. I learned that off going like, sweetheart, you're fine. You're safe. You're okay. You'll be fine. Like, do you have your pepper spray? Do you have this? Why don't you have your pepper spray? I thought we got that for you for a reason. And all of a sudden, spiraling things out of control. And I have found my relationship has grown so much off those blow-up moments. And instead of letting it consume our relationship, major moments of stepping back and saying, what can I learn? What could I have done differently? And a lovely wife that says, to just listen to her, just listen. But all these things are these points of failure. We have them in our business. We have them in our relationships. We have them in our own personal hobbies. I look at racing. We're going racing this weekend, Matt. The amount of times we have an entire checklist on how to check the lug nuts on the wheels before we go out now because we lost a wheel on the racetrack. That was a point of failure. We are better for it now.
I remember when you told me about that, I was like, ooh, that somebody messed something up. Ooh, we just didn't have a process. And this is the other cool thing about little bits of failure is it does identify a gap in something that has an easy patch to it. Like, oh, we just need a process in tightening these lug nuts down before we go out on the track. I mean, if you look at those points of failure, and I think this is the other thing that you can do, because when we say successes and failure, it doesn't mean you always have to experience some type of epic loss in order to have a lesson learned. There's a couple of things you can do. One, you can acknowledge that while you might still be having success, is it the success you want to have? Are we falling short? Because that is maybe a small failure that we can analyze. The other thing to do is you can actually do failure planning. Like, well, what would it look like if this didn't work out? What are the things that could come in? Is it possible that a wheel could fall off the car while we're racing? No, that's not possible. Well, how would we make sure that it is not possible? Well, we'd make sure that we tighten all the lug nuts down before we go out on the track. Now we've avoided failure before it even happened, but we learned from the failure because we asked ourselves what could happen in that, which is why in our business planning, Garrett, we talk about identifying the potential roadblocks that can come up in a year. And you won't have them all. we did not plan for the roadblocks that we hit coming right out of the gate in January. Like that wasn't on my roadblock list. But we
So
had other roadblocks that helped us learn some things that allowed us to have a system in place to come back to. And I think there's all these different ways that we can look at what quote unquote failure is so that we can have lessons learned versus, looking back when things kind of crumble down to the ground.
we just did an episode on consistency, Matt, and that episode was born out of people that are actually having the best years they've ever had right now. I'm watching people right now that are having the biggest first quarters they have ever had. I have an agent right now that is ranked 3rd in her office, and that is not something she ever thought was ever even possible. I think they have 200 agents, and she was not even close. I think last year, I think she said she was 56th in the office. 3rd in the office right now. And what's really interesting is that we're sitting here and trying to analyze for where points of failure are happening right now. And the point of failure is that she has a hot list and a warm list of a whole bunch of people. And I'm like, look at this list. And she says, but I'm not talking to any of them right now. The failure point of damage to her business, of damage to where she wants to go, of damage to the goals that she set for herself actually hasn't happened yet. It's not there. And it's actually fixable in this moment right now. This is a moment you can look at and go, look, the wheels haven't fallen off the car yet. But because we are now stopping and paying attention, a failure is loose lug nuts on that car, by the way. A failure point was deciding that it was a good idea to have a beer before we were done working on the car. That's actually what led to we have lots of new rules right now for the team.
That was the night before, by the way, not like before getting on the track. Just for all of you who are keeping score here.
It was the day before, getting the car ready. We're all having a good time. And then all of a sudden, one of the teammates walks in and goes, I brought beer. And we're like, beer sounds good. We had not finished working on the car. We had not completed everything yet. We had done the brakes, put the wheels back on, but that was the failure point that led to a much larger fail point on the track when the actual the wheels came off. But the cool part is when you can notice and you stop and you analyze the points of failure before it's the wheels coming off. When you can be like, what is that noise? What is happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Where's the stress levels coming up? Those are those little points of failure that if you listen and you pay attention, you can learn. And you can say, okay, this is happening because I'm not following my calendar, because I'm not making my phone calls, because I need to actually hire somebody to help me more with my business. And this is where these massive learning areas are. And again, I think I'm going to encourage all of you, embrace them. Embrace them when you find them, grow with them. And then if you get a chance to be part of like a world that we're in, like share it with your people. We talk about group coaching all the time now where I'm like, please bring all your stuff. And if you even want to do it anonymously, because you don't want to be called out that you're having this happen in your world. We had just somebody the other day on our last call, Matt, that they secretly got their stuff into us. Mm-hmm. And we had an entire conversation on CRMs blowing up. What was the other piece they were like,
it was that consistency arm of like, how do I keep up with my people while I'm getting busy? We did talk about email distribution, talked about it. It spawned a whole host of things that someone's like, oh yeah, I have this issue. And, people got a lot of value out of that conversation and hopefully they're going to go take action on it as well. That's the beauty too. We get to meet again next week and be like, okay, who got wins from last week? Who put into play all the stuff that we talked about last week?
Yep. And again, all those little points of failure, nothing major, nothing bad.
Yeah.
Little points of failure. So Matt, do you have anything else you want to add in around this?
I'd just say the successes are in there if you look for them. And so don't take failure as this, you're terrible type of thing. Take it as, it's like a little beep saying, hey, I'm reminding you to look into this and see, where do I need to improve? Where's the learning lesson? What are the things that I can look into? Are you accepting enough self-responsibility here? That's kind of what that means for you, particularly in your business and in your personal life. And so I hope that people take action on this, Garrett. Good topic.
I really do. So we've got the free webinar coming up. We're going to be
Yep.
talking about the engagement engine. If you want to check that out, go to 10tenths.co. You'll get all the information on there. You can also download the app there, which will get you even bigger access into our world. And we're going to leave you with your business should fuel your life, not consume it. And if that feels good to you, 10 Tenths is here for you. Matt and I are here for you. And we will see you on the next episode.